Okay, well, good Monday evening, New York Jet fans and NFL fans. It is April 21st, 2025, about 4:36 p.m., and you're watching The Takeoff, and this is draft week. Draft is in Green Bay this year. It is Thursday night. This week is round one of the draft. Jets hold the 7th pick, and I have to say, not sure which direction they're going. I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. I really don't. There's been so much speculation on what they're going to do, what they're looking to do. Listen, it's been speculated mock drafts that the Jets are going after a running back. It is speculated in mock drafts that the Jets are going to get a defensive tackle, an offensive tackle, a cornerback, a wide receiver, trade Breece Hall, trade the 7th pick to get draft capital. And right now, I have to say, I don't know which way they're going to go. I do think they're going to go defense. That's the only direction I think they're going to go, which would not be out of the ordinary for this team. But I will say this as well. This offseason has been, out of Florham Park, extremely quiet. Now, there has been talk about the Jets, about One Jets Drive in Florham Park, and the organization, and the owner, and the team, and the past quarterback, and the future quarterback that's been going on. But right now, speaking about the draft, I think Thursday night the Jets will hold on to the 7th pick, unless, which some teams or some mock drafts have showed, Sanders, a quarterback, is still on the board, and a team wants to move down a few spots to try to get there. Now, I don't see the Jets picking a quarterback. Of course, they signed Justin Fields to a 2-year contract. A lot of people against that. Excuse me. But let's talk about that for a second. Excuse me, got a tickle in my throat. A little cool out here. It was gorgeous this afternoon. Now it's very cold. But anyway, talking about quarterback, the Jets get a 24 or 25-year-old Justin Fields. Yes, this is Justin's 3rd team. Of course, drafted by the Chicago Bears. Then went to Pittsburgh last year. And if you're a Jet fan, you remember Fields was 4-2. They had a Sunday night game against the Jets, and Mike Tomlin starts the new quarterback for the Giants in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, probably the first half of the game, or at least first quarter plus, looked terrible, underthrowing, overthrowing, under pressure. But the way it happens a lot last year with the Jets, they cannot keep up with the QB or the offense, and Russell Wilson winds up beating the Jets, becomes the starter for the Steelers, and is with them the rest of the season. He is let go. Justin Fields is then let go. And just funny that both of them end up in New York. So you have Justin Fields ending up in New York with the Jets, Russell Wilson ending up with the Giants. I know the career stats in the NFL for Justin Fields has not been stellar. It's not something you're looking for. But if the Jets could get a QB at this age that went at that position in the draft at this time of his career, they may have something for the future. Now, I know, Jet fans, we've said this over and over again. We have Mark Sanchez. We have Chad Pennington, which, barring injuries, Chad Pennington, who knows what he could do. We have, Geno Smith. We have Sam Darnold, who showed what he could do. And of course, Zach Wilson, picked number 2 overall, and he's now in Miami, but he's still not even close to being a starter. So I know the the view, I know the outlook that most people have on this team developing a quarterback. But with Fields, it's a unique position because he doesn't need to be acclimated to the NFL. He's already played in the NFL. What he needs now is possibly a change of scenery, which he got in Pittsburgh. He went to a program with a winning coach, a historic organization, and now can come here. What happens here? I mean, it's anyone's guess. He could stay where he is, he could get better, or he can, maybe decline. But at this point, you would look for the Jets to say, oh, you know what? We got to get a quarterback. We have to draft a quarterback, and their first round pick goes to a quarterback. That's not needed now. The pickup of Justin Fields alleviates at least them drafting a QB this year. And this team is more than a QB away from being successful, and that was proven with our past quarterback this year. We went from having a defense 2 or 3 years ago that everybody was talking about and everybody's saying this is a top 10, maybe a top 6 or a top 5 defense. You put a QB back there who could put the ball down the field, who could challenge defensive players, challenge DBs, and then have Breece Hall running it, and you have it, you got it. But it didn't work. We were so mismanaged from top to bottom. We were so overestimated. Usually a team is underestimated and they go underneath the radar and they can be successful. Everything was on this team. It was February football, a bust. The funny thing is, we won 2 less games than we did with Zach Wilson the year before. So this team on defense took a few steps back. And let's not forget, DJ Reed is gone now. Sauce Gardner is here. And he reported to voluntary workout, which was nice. Garrett Wilson on the offensive side reported to voluntary workout, which is nice. It shows that they're committed to being on this team. Jermaine Johnson will be back. He's been posting. He can't wait to get back on the field at MetLife. That's that pressure up front, the linebackers that we were missing. Hassan Reddick is in Oakland now. He's gone. So all these little pieces that we thought were going to be enough were not even close. Quinnen Williams, was not the Q of 2 years ago, and he needs to step up. So drafting a quarterback this year, yes, that is the attractive, that is the pretty, that is the headlines. Shedeur Sanders, will his dad come to camp? Will he? We don't have to worry about that. Okay, we don't have to worry about that. So I'm for, and I'm not saying that Justin Fields is my number one pick to come here, but there are a few things that I think Justin gives you. Number one, he takes away the age factor. We're not going to bring in a 33-year-old, 34-year-old, 39-year-old quarterback. We have a 20-something quarterback with a handful of years in the NFL. Played out in the NFC Central, played in the AFC, and, played some, competitive ball. Now it comes to the AFC East, where it's not the same where it used to be. Buffalo is the team that you have to go through. Miami, I think, everybody made them out to be better than what they were. New England, of course, is not the New England of old. And they will be with their third coach in 3 years, as Vrabel went there. So, the AFC East is a little different. It is there to be taken, but you got to remember, you got to go through Buffalo. And Buffalo is a tough task and a tough team. So, with draft week, usually in the past, you had some inkling. I mean, there's even talk of a tight end being drafted. Now, I, for one, have always been a fan of using the tight end in offense. Growing up, before I was pure green and white, I used to watch, and I still remember this, CBS, 1 p.m., Giant game, NBC, 4 p.m., Jet game. And Mark Bavaro, to me, was the epitome of a tight end. Okay, and nothing said it more than that Monday night against San Fran, but there were so many other times where Bavaro stepped up and showed just how great he was. And I remember when they drafted Kyle Brady. First of all, my wife was ecstatic with Kyle Brady. She thought he was the cutest thing when we were dating. But Kyle Brady had that body build like Bavaro. And of course, he was drafted under Kotite and really didn't do much. Then when Parcells came, I said, you know what, this may be what he needs. And then Bavaro became the tight ends coach. I was like, we're going to really, we're going to change the position that the Jets have for tight end for the first time. It didn't go as planned. It really didn't. I mean, Brady did play better, but we never had that tight end threat. The last few years on the Saleh, yes, the tight end was put in more positions than he was in the past and made more plays. But other than that, the tight end position has never been a big threat for the Jets. It was either we had a nice blocking tight end for the running game or a nice catching tight end. We never had a dual threat by the one tight end. This tight end in the draft this year, I believe at Ohio State, can provide both. Again, coming from where Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields played, maybe that makes it more attractive, but I don't see a tight end going in the first round. We haven't taken a tight end in the first round, I think, since Anthony Becht. And again, I like Anthony a lot, but he was never the versatile, multi-positional, multi-purpose tight end. So, for the first time in a long time, there's really, you don't know where the Jets are going with the draft. When Zach Wilson was in the draft, you knew they were going after Zach. When Sam was in the draft, you knew they were going after Sam. This is a little different this year. Getting Justin Fields, first of all, like I said, minimizes having to draft a first-round quarterback. Now, maybe on the second day of the draft, third day of the draft, they pull a QB, but they don't have to pick on their first day. They can look all around to where they want to go. That's my draft prediction. I don't think they trade out. I think the Saints pick up Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of drama coming out of New Orleans with Derek Carr being injured, not keeping in contact with his coach. So there's a lot of drama going on there, and that needs to be played out. Maybe the Saints get a little nervous and reach out to the Jets and say, hey, we want to offer you this, and this, or this and this to move up to 7, because I think the Saints are at 9. So maybe to jump 2 spots. Who knows if the number 8, I don't know who's at 8 off the top of my head, will be looking for a QB. That's number 1. So for the draft, I'm going to say no QB in the first round. I think we go defense. I would love one of these 3. And I'm not going to mention names. I'm just going to say position. On defense. Defensive end, edge rusher, or a defensive lineman. Build up front. Give Sauce, the opportunity to not have to always make a play, where the play now it can be blown up at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. On offense, I love the fact we have Garrett Wilson. We really don't have many more weapons as a wide receiver. Lazard actually took a change, or I could say an adjustment in his contract, and he's still on the team. Of course, you have the Coley, I forgot his name, the wide receiver who dropped the ball at the 1-yard line last year, spiking the ball, celebrating too early, and a few other, wide receivers that are very buried on the depth chart. But I don't know if a wide receiver is the way to go first round either. And the Jets have been great with second round wide receivers. But on offense, I think we need to complement, what's his name? Fashiono, the offensive lineman. Put somebody on the other end of your QB and protect him. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Brick, Mangold, Faneca, Mawai, those names all stick out to us because of the job that they did up front. Not only protecting their QB, but being part of the run game as well. So that could be an extremely, extremely big pick. Like I said, I'm looking at up front on defense. They may go defensive back, I'm not sure. But I think we need to work from the line of scrimmage back. And I think that's on both sides of the ball. Field goal kickers. I'm not drafting a field goal kicker. Pick up somebody, a walk-on or something. But if you look at it, last year, our two biggest issues on the outcome of games, taken away from stupid plays, was quarterback interception plays and missed opportunities on special teams. I look back at that Denver game, and that could change the whole season because that's so early in the season. I remember we were at that game and it was pouring, and the first drive, Garrett Wilson fumbled the ball away, and Denver recovered, and it was going back and forth, and it was pouring. You couldn't see. We were waterlogged, and my daughters and I looked at each other. Right after halftime, we started watching the game from the back, covered, and then I said, listen, it's cold, we're dripping wet, we have to change our clothes, we have a lot of season left, we'll be back, let's head out and watch the rest of the game from home. And yes, we had a lot of season left and nothing turned out our way, but I really thought that missed field goal was huge. It was a tremendous deflation to that season. And the other one was a quarterback. And I know statistically Rodgers probably had one of the best quarterback seasons as a New York Jet. But I believe he had 10 interceptions. Okay? Of the 10 interceptions, between 5 and 8 of them cost us games. And just off the top of my head, just thinking about it, okay, we had the interception in Minnesota. We had the interception against Buffalo at home on, I believe it was a Thursday night or a Monday night. Or a Sunday night. It was a night game at the MetLife. We had the interception, 2 interceptions against Pittsburgh. We had one other interception late that just, and it added up. So, listen, I'm not going to get on the Aaron Rodgers kick. It's over with. But we cannot go further without addressing it. When there was rumors that he was going to be coming to the team, I was against it. My first thing was he's too old. He's too, and not the word political, but he's too where he's going to cause a disruption. And they said that he was loved in the locker room. He's too controversial, that's the word. And he's not going to be able to deal with New York media. Now, yes, he probably handled a majority, if not close to all of his press conferences and interviews the right way. But he came off cocky when he shouldn't have been cocky. Everybody hated when Rex came off with bravado because Rex didn't really prove anything. But Rodgers didn't prove anything here and was not doing well and still not prove anything. It took probably the first 6 or 7 games for him to actually look comfortable back there. That Minnesota game in London, he was getting beat up. He was getting sacked all over the place. And, coming off the injury and all that, But whatever. Now, throughout the season, I know there was rumors that Woody Johnson wanted him benched, that Woody Johnson and him didn't get along. There was a lot going on. And Woody Johnson has been looked at as public enemy number one. I have defended him many a times. I do not think an owner wants to lose. I do not think an owner will deliberately try to lose. Yes, season tickets are paid for in advance. Yes, you get a season ticket increase probably every other year, what have you. Yes, we share a stadium. You have all these things. But you win a division, you win a playoff game, you get to a conference championship game with a chance, and all that goes away. So I'm not going to get into all that. That is, if you choose to be a season ticket holder, you choose to follow this team, no big deal. If you choose to move away, no big deal. You do what you want to do. It's your prerogative. But he was onto something when he saw how Rodgers was playing against Denver and wanted him benched. He was onto something, I think, when he got rid of Saleh. Now, it didn't work in the way he wanted it to work. And I think that the perception was that Saleh and Rodgers did not get along, and Rodgers wanted Saleh gone. I feel that they needed a spark, and the spark was, we're going to fire Saleh. Our defense had been playing stellar for 2 years under Saleh and his defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator could step up, but that never happened. So it backfired. And it backfired, I believe it was in October. So, I don't blame the guy for trying to do something, because the team was not in a good position and he needed something. But the things that I thought Rodgers was going to change, he did not. It took how many weeks for them to stop getting false starts to delay of games? Having to use timeouts, because personnel wasn't correct. That is all timing, that is all communication. How many passes were forced that, yes, when he made it, he looked amazing, but when he didn't make it, it cost us as an INT, a turnover on downs. I remember that Colts game. There was one point where he circled, ran backwards, threw the ball up. I mean, I nearly lost my mind. So I was not into it when they said he was coming. I drank the Kool-Aid. I admit it. I got into Hard Knocks. I got into Super Bowl fever. I got into we could be contenders. And I was one of the few who slowly started to turn. But I wouldn't boo or anything like that. Again, that's your prerogative if you want to boo. But I just knew he wasn't the person, wasn't the QB that we had signed on for. Now, you could play devil's advocate. You could say hindsight's 2020, whatever cliche you want to say. After he was injured on September 11th, 2023, he was never the same player again. No matter how he tried to rehab, whatever, he was never the same. Physically and mentally. I don't think he trusted his offensive line, and I think he knew that his body was vulnerable. So you take that all away, okay? The Jets go and they hire Aaron Glenn. And it's a feel-good story. And I said this many times on my podcast, and Aaron Glenn has been hired. They get the guy who was drafted to come here, the guy who played alongside Ronnie Lott, the guy who, was successful under Parcells, the guy who reaches out to Parcells and gets, advice and tutelage and whatnot. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, you don't hear a peep out of One Jets Drive. Florham Park is now tight-lipped. And he has admitted, I like it this way. You don't win the championship by winning the offseason, and we've proven that. It's a little cold today. You win the championship on the field. You win the championship, Yes, on the moves you make. You win the championship in training camp, in the sweat, in the heat of July and August. You win the championship in the wind, in the rain, in the, whatever. But making some nice picks in the offseason does not guarantee anything. So the big thing is Aaron Rodgers going to come back? He's not going to come back. Rodgers had mentioned a few things about hinting that he would come back. He wants to play, unfinished business. I get it. He is a proud person. He does not want to go out like that. Okay? When Aaron Glenn is introduced, he immediately, the Jets address the Aaron Rodgers situation, which is great. They get ahead of it. They also say a few things that probably don't hit Rodgers the right way. And that is, they ask Aaron Glenn something about Rodgers, and Glenn basically says, it's more than just a QB on this team. This team is not just revolving around one man. That is huge. Nobody's ever said that. And if you look at Hard Knocks, the way Saleh is talking about Aaron Rodgers, did you see that throw? Did you see? He looks like a fan, and you're supposed to be leading. So I'm not, whatever. I'm not going to blame Saleh for being like that, but also, show some composure. Maybe that was overacting for HBO or for Showtime, whatever the frig the show was on. But it comes down to it that the Jets are going to meet with Aaron Rodgers. The way it works out is basically the Jets tell Aaron Rodgers we're going a different route. Okay, Rodgers is going to meet with the Giants. Rodgers is going to meet with the Saints. Rodgers is going to meet with Pittsburgh. Rodgers is going to meet with the Raiders. Davante Adams is like, go. And what's funny is it comes full circle. The Jets don't say a word after they release him. They do a nice posting on the website, a nice tweet on Instagram and on Twitter, and they basically leave it at that. They sign Justin Fields, and they say it's Justin and Tyrod, and basically, Fields will get the nod to be the starter, and we start to move on and being stealth and flying under the radar and no leaks. Rodgers goes back full circle, like I said, to the Pat McAfee show this past week. And basically Rodgers comes out and says, I flew across the country from California. I sat down, they asked me if I wanted to play, and they said, we're going a different route. And he basically made it like the Jets wasted his time. And listen, no matter what the reason, no matter how they did it, he was not going to like it. They could have told him, listen, Aaron, don't fly across country. We're going a different route. He wouldn't have liked it. Let me meet you in face to face. This is not the way you do business. He flies cross country. They sit down and ask him if he has intentions of playing. And honestly, they could have really been, pains in the asses and basically tried to trade him. They were smart. Nobody wanted him. He's still not signed with a team. The only team that they may get is the Saints, because they need a QB, but they also may draft a QB. So it's very, very difficult that Rodgers is going to be happy. And you know what? We're not in a place to make people happy. I think the Jets, from almost 2 years ago around this time, Nathaniel Hackett, Lazard, who else? Davante Adams last year, Cook, the running back, Cobb, the other running back, the other receiver. I want this guy, I want that guy, and yes, I'm not going to show up for voluntary or not voluntary, mandatory. No, you're supposed to be a leader. I don't care how many preseasons, how many off seasons, you're supposed to be a leader. Even if you didn't work out, you should have been in the building during those mandatory off-season meetings and workouts. So, listen, they got him. They appeased the fans. Yes, jersey sales were up, but the Jets don't get all the money from the jersey sales. That is shared revenue amongst the NFL. So please don't say, "Oh, what do you got jersey?" It has nothing to do with that. And we gave it a shot. And he played 5 games. I'm sorry, he played 17 games and 4 plays. And he won 6 games, 1 game in which he played 4 plays and the other 5. And we move on. Now, does it suck? Yes. The last 2 seasons of Jet football have been terrible for me. I haven't felt this bad since 2002 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers in the postseason, and 99 when Vinny got hurt, and then of course losing the AFC Championship games. And I think the worst AFC Championship game I ever experienced with the loss was against the Steelers, because I don't know what we would have did against Green Bay the following week, because we lost to them during the season. I think it was like 9-3 or 9-0, something like that. But I think we would have given them a hell of a ride. So we move on, and Thursday is the next step in the Aaron Glenn regime as head coach, with Magui, whatever the frig the GM name is, and we see where we're going to bring this team into the future. Listen, Glenn said that he is looking to win. Yes, they are building this team again, but he is no way looking to punt on the season. Now, that is the politically correct thing to say. I just hope that they give it every effort. You know, I was there for when somebody was talking to, I forgot the GM, and said, "Oh, we got to suck for Sam," and we got Sam. And now Sam is on, I believe, his 4th team since 2018 in 7 seasons. Sam was on the Jets. Sam was on Carolina. Sam was on Philly. Sam was in San Fran. And now Sam was is in Seattle, and he was in Minnesota. So sucking for a player doesn't negotiate any type of winning success. But we'll be there draft night. We'll be at MetLife. We'll take a look. And we'll see what's going on, and we'll see what the steps are made by the Jet front office, and hopefully put more weapons on this team, develop Justin Fields, and move forward. So again, first step towards building this team outside of free agency and cuts and whatnot is Thursday night, round 1. Figure the first pick's going to go off about 8:15 or so. The Jets will probably pick close to 10 o'clock. I believe the Giants will pick, I think they're 3rd or 4th, something like that. So we shall see. New York sports again. Knicks are in the playoffs, game 2 tonight against the Pistons at MSG. Rangers and Islanders out of the playoffs. The Devils are in the postseason. Yankees and Mets, okay, a little bit Soto drama. And then football. Before you know it, it'll be football. You'll have your draft on Thursday, you'll have your mini camp and your rookie camp, and before you know it, you'll have your training camp, and the season schedule will be released. Last year was released, I think it was May 15th, so always look to the middle of May. It used to be released right before or right after the draft. This is a couple of weeks later. They make another event out of it. But anyway, you were watching The Takeoff. My name is Alex. Reach out to us, tweet us. At The Jets Takeoff is our Twitter handle. Email us, thejets_takeoff@gmail.com. On this video on YouTube, subscribe to us. Give us your comments. I know, listen, I was walking, I was a little out of breath. It's cold out here. How do you feel about the team coming up? Are you headed out to the draft? Do you have any away games going to? The Jets this year play in London. I'm not sure who they're going to be playing yet. That wasn't announced yet. And how many primetimes games are they going to have, So reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to the video on YouTube. The name of the YouTube account is The Jets Takeoff, and the name of the channel is The Takeoff. My name is Alex, and it's wonderful to talk to you, and I'll talk to you soon.